So when I look back on my graduate experience, I can think of a moment in time where I feel like I knew Florida State was the place for me. And it was at visiting days, and myself and everyone else in the cohort came down to interview for assistantships. And I was actually walking with our very own Spencer Scruggs. And we're walking from the Union up to SSB, which is a building near here. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy looks exactly like Red Lightning. If you don't know who Red Lightning is, he used to be one of our football managers, our ball boys. Just go YouTube him. He's absolutely incredible. But I'm really nervous because I don't know Spencer. And so I finally work up the courage. And it's just like, bro, you look exactly like Red Lightning. And Spencer, of course, responds in the typical Spencer fashion and goes, and Spencer, we continue to talk about Red Lightning, but then in that moment, I kid you not, the actual Red Lightning in flesh and blood walked straight past us. I'm like, okay, that is more than a coincidence. I see you, Florida State. And I share that story with you, not really because it has much to do with my talk, to be honest, but because we all have so many memories like that, right? So many memories, little memories that remind us of how blessed we are to be here in Tallahassee. And I feel extremely blessed to speak here today. To be honored by these folks is unbelievable because these folks are the most intelligent, determined folks I have met, and they are going to do some unbelievable things. And friends, to kick us off, I'm hoping you'll humor me for a few moments, and I'm going to ask that you picture yourself, that you imagine yourself in a couple different environments. So feel free to close your eyes if you'd like, do whatever you want. But I want you to picture yourself and imagine yourself that you're living in a big old house, okay? And this isn't just a 2-story house. This is a 3, 4, 5-story house. It has acres of land surrounding this house, making it quite the property. In fact, the front of your house kind of looks like the front of Westcott. Yeah. Kind of this modern-day castle look. It's nice. You see it? Okay, now I want you to think about and then identify what job has got you there. What do you do? How much money do you make that has allowed you to purchase this property and this home? How many people do you lead? How much power do you have within this position? Can you identify something? I want you to kind of bring it back. And I'm going to attempt kind of a social experiment. And faculty, I apologize if this isn't up to par. LPF, I did not submit an IRB. But I want you to raise your hand. I want you to raise your hand if the job you just identified in your mind was your first job coming out of graduate school. Perfect. You're probably wondering where I'm going with this, and I promise I'm going to come back to this. As one of my favorite speakers likes to say, I promise I'm coming to your neighborhood. Just give me a moment. I would like to share some statistics first, and these are statistics you and I are very familiar with at this point. They're statistics Dr. Guthrie shared with us before we left for local practicum, and statistics that were shared in our last capstone. But for those in the audience who are unaware, I'm about to read some statistics and percentages that describe particular levels of education people have achieved within the United States and across the world. In the United States of America, 31.5% of the American population has achieved an undergraduate degree. In the world, that number drops dramatically. Only 1% of the entire world's population has achieved an undergraduate degree. In the United States of America, 8% of Americans have achieved a graduate degree. The same level of education you and I are walking away with today. In the world, 0.1%, not 1%, 0.1% of the entire world's population has achieved a graduate degree. And I know some of you all are going to go on and get terminal degrees. Some of you have achieved them today. Congratulations. In the United States of America, 0.5% of people have achieved a terminal degree. And in the world, 0.05% of people have achieved a terminal degree. Now, friends, use whatever language you would like, but the way I see it, you have essentially beaten out 99.9% of the entire world's population. As of today, you have achieved a higher level of education than 99.9% of the entire world. You have won the jackpot. you have won the global lottery. Regardless of what identities you hold, you and I are now more privileged than we will probably ever be able to understand. And I ask you to picture yourself in this elaborate house, this modern-day palace, if you will, because I want to make the argument that you're already living in it. You've made it. You're there. You're living in a modern-day palace, and are we going to go buy houses that look like Westcott, our first jobs out of graduate school? Absolutely not. And let's be honest, if you stay in student affairs, you're never going to live in a house like that. And I realize an American perspective would tell you that you aren't wealthy, nor will you ever become wealthy in student affairs. But on a global scale, as of today, you are some of the most privileged people on this planet. And I don't want you to walk away today missing that. And today I would like to talk about this idea of waiving our rights, because now that we're in this modern-day palace, I really think we have two options. Option one being we can simply sit back and enjoy our spot in the palace, and option two being we can work towards bettering the lives of those who are not living there. And it is my fear, friends, it is my fear as we leave today and go on to leave Tallahassee, it will be easy for us to be tempted to develop a sense of self-righteousness, a false belief that because we have achieved a master's degree or a doctoral degree, that we now have earned some sort of new set of rights. That because we have achieved a new level of education, we now get to be seen just a little bit differently or be shown just a little bit more respect, and for people to recognize this new social status or social standing. And although I recognize we have achieved a new social standing to some degree, I want to make the argument that you haven't actually received any new rights today. In fact, you've actually been given the opportunity to yield more rights. In other words, you haven't been given more so you may just have more. You've been given more so we can give more. As you leave Tallahassee and pursue a professional career, you are now under a larger magnifying glass. You know this. Your decisions will affect more people. You know this. You've achieved more power, and because we are now living in a modern-day palace, I believe it is our duty, I believe it is our responsibility to be people who are even more selfless, to be even more of a servant, to be even more generous, to be even more patient, to be people who yields their times, talents, and treasures to those around them. And when we consider the profession we have chosen, and I realize not all of us are pursuing student affairs, but we're all working with people to some degree, and considering these professions, we must be willing to waive our rights despite not seeing the full fruit of our labor. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you know our cohort well, and you know the cohort below us well, you'll know that there's a group of us, including myself, who are quite huge fans of the musical Hamilton. I think we can all thank Mallory Fouch for introducing us to the show. I know I can. I think it's all she listens to. But in the show Hamilton, and if you don't know, it's about our founding father, Alexander Hamilton. They got crazy with the title. At the end of the show, Alexander Hamilton has just dueled Aaron Burr. He's been shot and he's laying in a pool of his own blood. And if you're suddenly upset at me for spoiling the show, you need to go read up on U.S. history. Yes, he is shot. He is shot and he is bleeding out, and Hamilton starts to reflect on his life, and he goes into an inner monologue, and he just defines one particular word. He defines the word legacy. And he says, legacy. What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. Planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. I can't think of a better way to define the word nor describe how it relates to the profession we work in, working with young people. Friends, I want to encourage you to start seeing your work as a garden. Your job is to plant seeds in students' lives. Dr. O hit on this a little bit already. And the students we get to see on a more consistent basis, it's your job to water those seeds. But like Alexander Hamilton, the reality of our work is that you'll never get to see the full fruit of your labor. You'll be planting seeds in a garden you don't get to see, because the sad reality of our work is students come in, we plant a seed, we water those seeds, and before we know it, they've graduated and are gone. And we will tirelessly plant and water seeds, and we'll get to see some sprouts and even some unripe fruit, but the reality is we will never be there for the entire harvest. And you must be okay with that. You must continually waive your rights despite seeing the full fruit of your labor. planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. Your legacy will be defined by how you continue to work and tend the soil, how you plant and water seeds, but your legacy will not be defined by the entire harvest because you won't be there to see it. However, I believe if we're diligent in planting seeds in good soil and watering those seeds consistently, our students will go on and produce unbelievable fruit. And fruit that you may never see, but fruit that can still be contributed to the work you and I will put in because we took the time to plant those seeds and care for those seeds. However, here's the catch, friends. As the gardener, as the professional, we also must understand that we're fully capable of destroying our own garden. And by not yielding our rights, I believe we destroy our garden. By not yielding our rights, we allow weeds and thorns to choke out sprouting students. And let me explain to you how I see this playing out. Now that we've achieved this new level of education, it would be easy for us to believe that we have all the right answers, especially on one of those days when we're having a bad day. So when you're having a bad day and a student comes to you and says something that you believe to be intolerant, and you respond in a non-loving manner, you destroy your garden. When you allow your work to negatively influence your joy, which I've seen you all have, because I've seen it the last few years, you destroy your garden. When you don't express peace or don't respond in patience, you destroy your garden. When you don't show your students and colleagues kindness, goodness, and faithfulness, you destroy your garden. Friends, I'm convinced there's not a single program you can create or a single curriculum you can develop or a single dialogue that you can facilitate that will be more impactful on a student's life than your simple ability to love them well. So in actuality, now that you have achieved this new level of education, you are under a larger magnifying glass and you actually have more rights to yield. With this new position of power, you can either positively build students up or you can negatively tear them down. And if you're anything like myself, you've seen professionals do both. And thankfully, there's grace for when we mess up because you are going to fail. But as we go on and pursue this professional role, I want you to think about how can I better my garden every day. And as we all know, gardens only grow in particular seasons. And although I've loved the weather here in Florida, I've missed the seasons. I'm from Colorado. I miss seeing summer turn into fall and fall turn into winter. And because we're Colorado, winter just turns straight into summer. Colorado got 4 inches last night, and still getting used to the spring thing. And when I was growing up in Colorado, when I was going to school at Colorado State, I never looked forward to the winter because I was never looking forward to the bitter cold, but I always was blown away and reminded at how beautiful winter is when the first fresh coat of snow came, and I looked out across white plains with the background of white mountains. You know, we need to start seeing our time here at Florida State as a season in life that has unfortunately come to a close. We need to start seeing our time as a tightly knit cohort as a season. Because although our relationships aren't going to die when we leave here, they're bound to look a little different. No longer will we all sit in the same living room working on the same assignment. No longer will we all gather for a tailgate and go to a football game. No longer will we all be able to sit in class and get to listen to Spencer ask a multitude of questions. Spencer is the obvious celebrity. Our season as a tightly knit cohort is coming to a close, but I'm here to tell you that that's okay. Because although it's sad to see seasons come to an end, how fortunate are we to be able to see seasons change? How fortunate are we to be able to see seasons change? You know, I desperately wanted to stay in Colorado for graduate school. I applied and wanted to stay at Colorado State because I didn't want to see that particular season of life to change. However, I stand before you today so incredibly grateful I didn't get into CSU because it forced me to embrace discomfort, to transition into a new season of life, and it ended up providing me an unbelievable network of people. I mean, look around you, folks. Look who showed up today. Just think of all the people you've met here in Tallahassee in a span less than 2 years. Our cohort, the cohort above us, the cohort below us, your supervisors, new mentors, professionals throughout campus, your students you secretly like the most. Your students who frustrate you. Our faculty, our TAs, the list goes on and on. And on behalf of the cohort, I have to thank a few people. Faculty, thank you for pouring into us the last 2 years. And specifically, thank you to LPF and Brad and Dr. Guthrie, who was with us for multiple semesters. And the employers, thank you for taking a chance on us after you met us at visiting days. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be standing here if Rod Kelly hadn't taken a chance on me, so thank you, Rod. And to our divisional leadership, Dr. Coburn, Dr. Kroom, Dr. Bowden, thank you all for allowing us to be part of a wonderful division. We've been unbelievably blessed here, and honestly probably more blessed than we deserve. And there's no doubt this particular season of life has been a memorable one, and I'm sad to leave Florida State because of you all and because of everyone else here. But we should be excited about this next season of life, because if I've learned anything here about Florida State, it's that we're fortunate to see seasons change. Because we just don't know what's in store for us, you know. And it will be sad to say goodbye tonight and the remaining weeks, but I look forward to this next season of life, and I challenge you all to start to see this transition in the same way. I said it before and I said it again, I'm extremely honored that you all nominated me to speak today. I love you all dearly, and I hope our relationships will continue post-Tallahassee. Thank you, and go Noles.